call the meeting to order. Roll call, everybody's here. I'd like to open the floor to public comments. Seeing none. We're going to move into the public hearing of the concept plan for Milky Way Park. Call the roll call again. Still here?
Yeah, so now you just ask for public comment.
And public comment on that? Nope, still no public comment. Okay.
So then you would take,
Close the public hearing.
Second that.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Question about the concept plan, so did we? Did, oh, okay, oh, okay,
Can we get a
yeah.
motion to
So
approve
that
the
makes
minutes
sense.
of the last meeting?
Approve the minutes of June 17th.
I'll second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Number 5, discussion on the Milky Way Park concept plan.
Did we change anything from the hearing?
so,
I mean, it looked the same to me.
All right, you're right. So if you, it looks essentially the same, but right here, this is added, which wasn't there before. If you recall, it cut off right about here.
Yeah. Okay.
I like the more trees concept better. So, like Eddie was suggested, I like the more trees. Once those are mature, that's.
Be nice.
Will do the job. What was originally, we think for phase 1, we wanted to change that.
There was, if you, your proposal for phase 1. No, I don't have a
So, what we're looking to do next is, this month we apply. We already have to nail down what aspects we're going to go. Pathway. Now, why I was doing that is a strategy to address what I believe is the interest of the grant administrator. They like to spread their money to the communities that are doing the most with it, or the most of the population base. All that you're applying for now was just the renovations for the soccer. And that's fine, except you're only affecting one age group. You would also have to prove to the grant administrators that those particular soccer field age groups were underserved within your community. And right now, we know that we have several soccer fields out there. And there are probably more throughout the area. So it's a hard sell to grant administrators to say, we need it.
Can you talk to the mic?
Sure.
I don't know if it's on or not. Be able to tap it.
Better?
Yes.
Okay. So what we need to do tonight is nail that down further. We don't want to just go for soccer fields unless we can prove that the soccer fields alone are serving an age group that is underserved right now in your community. Basically, you have in your Parks and Recreation master plan a matrix that illustrates all the elements you have, and the OSLAD people, the grant administrators downstate, compare those elements against a national average. Like a population this size should have this many ball fields, this many soccer fields, this many basketball courts, this many tennis courts. And if you don't meet that average, then obviously if you're proposing something new, then that's a benefit to the community. But if you're proposing another tennis court and you already have 6, they'll say, why do you need this money for that? Obviously, you could have the demand and you might have that need, but the grants people won't see it that way. So what I was proposing is what I just outlined, the trail connection, the playground, the pickleball courts, and the U10 soccer fields as being the meeting our $600,000 goal, and then also serving the most demographic within your community. We know that the playground that exists out there right now probably doesn't meet current ADA standards. So by building a new one, that's a plus. Making the trail connection, that's a plus, because that's what they look for. That's one of the aspects, is the multimodal trail connections. The pickleball courts, you could do that. You could do bag courts, you could do horseshoes, something like that would go for the older adult, which is not served out there right now. The soccer
Not
fields,
served out there, but it is served in the community.
in the community, right. And if you have too many of those, which I don't think anybody has too many pickleball courts currently.
I don't know.
I seem to be building dozens of them all over. But that was my logic, is get the most bang for our buck, satisfy or check off most of their boxes so we can apply and have the greatest opportunity to get the 600,000, the full funding.
So
Now-
what, I'm just curious, what are our numbers right now in terms of like soccer field availability?
There you go.
For different age groups?
There is only one soccer field in the community besides the soccer fields.
Okay.
There is room for soccer fields at the Crosby Elementary. I don't believe they're set up as soccer field.
I think the one comment we did get back in the previous review of this plan was to make those soccer fields larger.
So there was gonna be, one adult size over here.
Right. Because that's what the soccer association was saying, that is what they need.
And then what about and so would that replace the basketball and the skate park?
Well, we have a balancing act. Maybe if we, commit funds for the renovation and the development of that full adult soccer field, something else has to go. It's a balancing act.
Right.
And of course, this is all predicated on the fact that we're using numbers or, budgetary numbers from 2024, and we won't
Right.
get the money until 2026.
Right.
Or late in 25.
Right.
So if we were to include the adult soccer field, we would probably have to eliminate pickleball courts.
Something like that. We have a
'Cause-
balancing act.
They're the
Yeah.
two adult,
No, well, yes, I guess so. I think what the,
Well, it's a
currently
different
the
user
grant
group.
administrators see the pickleball courts as serving a senior population.
okay.
Yeah, seniors aren't playing soccer.
Well, the
Not
crowd I
many.
roll with does, but yeah.
I mean, they consider Kane old, and he's 41. He's a kid.
We're slower.
But I don't think there's a big demand in Harvard for
No,
for senior soccer. And seniors, I personally might be happy with the small fields.
But that's our goal, is we need to nail this down so we can throw some general numbers at it. And I do mean general, because if you look at the grant administration, they're not looking for a detailed account of what this is going to cost. They want to see line item like playground, $100,000. They don't need to know all the pieces, but they would like a layout. And the only reason they want the layout is for ADA.
And if I recall, when we saw this, what was it, last month, this right here was gonna be really close to the 600,000.
Yep.
So we are going to have one adult soccer field at least, because the Spanish community, I don't think is going to be playing pickleball. Just don't think. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Keep in mind, like, one of the things that was mentioned before is with this being ADA accessible, that we can commit some of the NISRA funds to offset it if need be.
For that expense.
Right. So you could get an adult size here and offset that cost over here
So
with
that,
NISRA funds.
for example, we could say that in the grant application that we're asking for $100,000 to fund that playground, but in reality, it'll cost the community $150,000, but you're using 50 of that from another fund source.
Yeah. And those are just ad hoc numbers. That's not.
Right.
so when will we see that, that budget? I mean, I know we saw a
Well,
draft.
If we can see right now, or if we can reach a conclusion as to what we want to see out there, we'll be able to put the numbers to it almost immediately.
And what about, and I know I keep asking this, what about the annual maintenance costs? Because putting in an adult soccer field that's actually done
Properly.
correctly, yeah, maintaining that is not just mowing it.
No, it's not, but however, I mean, there's different standards for that as well. For example, Muscatine, Iowa, they have what I consider the most high-end soccer fields around the Midwest. And they cut those in the morning and they cut them again in the evening. The surfaces are like golf course tees.
Right.
They're just amazing. And greens, I don't think we're going for that caliber. We do have a slight pitch across that particular area from north to south, but not enough to make it significant. I think our annual maintenance on something like that would be probably core aeration and top dressing and seed infill in the fall. But the ideal situation is, as you develop those soccer fields, one rests while the next one gets played on, so that can recover.
But we'll only have one.
Initially.
Yeah.
But you have room for 3 more of adult size.
Right.
Or at least 2 more.
2 more.
So you could have 3 total with 1 sitting out. Though I recommend that for the last 40 years, I rarely see it done because the demand for those type of fields are so high. So again, it's like, you can commit to the maintenance, whether or not the weather, the playability, the competition for use, all works for you.
Right.
Well, and then some of that maintenance will also hopefully be offset with being able to charge fees
Right.
for those who are using it. So like right now, and I'm trying to keep that mic in the way here, sorry. So right now, the way this is set up is we've got like an ad hoc adult field here. We've got some youth soccer here. What'll happen is as this park starts to form into its final design, is we'll be able to shift people over to here and not over here. Get the adult over here, and if anything, use this more for practice or like a practice area. Slowly but surely, and by phase 2, we'll have hopefully another adult here and then more of the youth ones right about here, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Below the, down there, no,
Yep,
over.
yeah, they're
right
stacked.
Yeah, right about here. Yep, right about here.
Oh,
Which
okay.
too will offset any pressure there. And,
Oh, the
and
little kids.
by the time by the time we get to phase 3, we should start seeing that formation. Plus, Stacy has already started the process of trying to organize schedules between all the various groups and those who are using Milky Way Park, which is something that we've been lacking on for years.
Thank you.
So we're gonna charge usage fees, is that what we're gonna do? Or how are you
Potentially.
How's that gonna be managed?
Potentially, but that's something we'll have to calculate, what usage fee, and typically the usage fee hasn't been like
Yeah.
actual cost, it's more just like a token to cover some of it. I know it's been tradition not to charge fees, but, you know, something like this and some of the other park improvements in the years, I mean, it's just putting more pressure on everybody else. Yeah, very good example. Thank you, John.
Okay, so, motion?
So, yeah, you need a motion to recommend this design? Or this
No,
for
the-
phase
the
1?
Previous design, right,
Yeah.
that last slide.
Yeah, sorry,
This one.
correct,
With
thank
the
you.
overall. Or you mean the phase 1?
Phase one.
Okay.
This one.
So I just want to have some discussion on the skate park.
Yeah.
This is not an area, this is an area parents are going to have to drive their kids in to do skate park. And I'm wondering if like Lions Park next to the pool or behind the softball field would be a better place to have a skate park than to have it here. Because this is not, other than this neighborhood that's adjacent, there's not a lot of population in this area. I'm not against the skate park, I'm not saying that.
Right.
Actually, in my initial proposal, I didn't see a skate park. I see skating waning. It goes through a cycle of popularity depending on the mood of the times. I was actually advocating a more of an adult fitness area, a challenge course, as it were. That's the new trend that we're seeing move throughout the area.
Yeah, and I went out and looked at both the playground and the adult area. The playground, I agree with you, it's obviously not ADA compliant, but it's actually in fairly good shape.
And
It's
fairly
not
well used.
torn apart. The adult fitness area is starting to rust out. That really, we probably, I mean, that's up to this board, but I would tear that out. You know, because it's, to me, it looks bad. I mean, it's rusted out, a lot of that stuff's metal, and I think an adult fitness area right there might be better. You know, it fits this area better.
Except now you're getting into an adult attraction as opposed to a teen attraction.
Well, basketball,
Throws
I mean,
off.
yeah.
Well,
balance,
it
right?
depends on how the adult fitness, I mean, right now what you have out there is what they would call a core center. So basically, anybody can go out there and work on the big muscle groups type of thing. And it hits everyone's use. The challenge courses now go for the young adult. That's what they're targeted as. But we also see a lot of new fitness centers for seniors, usually associated with the walking path, where they can step off and do some type of physical movement. And the technology from what you have out there now to what is available today on the market has changed dramatically.
Well, my question is, if we agree with you that skate parks are going away
Right.
or losing their thrill, what could we replace the skate park with that would keep the balance in the various age groups for this OSLAD grant? Would an adult fitness,
And that could do it, yeah.
would that work?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it would be teens to young adults.
Well, and we've got the the soccer fields,
Right,
10 up
right.
for that age group, and then we've got the younger kids. And I think
Well,
regardless
actually,
of
it's
what's,
10U, which is under.
oh, 10 and under. Okay, so that's young kids. Okay. But I was going to say, you know, regardless of what the scoring is for OSLAD, I think we want to make sure that whatever amenities we're putting out here, you know, going along with what Jay was saying, makes sense. So if you figure teenagers, I'm just guessing, teenage boys tend to be the larger users as skateboarding. They don't drive. Somebody's going to have to drive them here to go to the skate park, and that sort of misses the whole vibe of being out there skateboarding. You know, they want to go, you know, where they can all hang out and
Right,
just show up and see who's there. And that's not going to happen if mom's taking you to the park. So I don't think it's the right
I agree.
place.
So
for that.
if we were to do a challenge fitness piece there, what was the budget on the skate park? Like 160, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, would we be able to have enough money to do a challenge fitness area and some type of shelter area? Because that's one thing I see missing from this entire side over here. There's no shelter at all.
Right.
And if we could get a shelter, because if you're going to put a large adult soccer field there, if we could have a shelter area right next to a challenge fitness area along with basketball courts.
Yeah, that'd be a nice combination.
Yeah, because Lou, didn't you say the shelters were 60 grand is what we're estimating?
About that, yeah.
About
Yeah.
60, 65.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so that leaves you another almost 100 grand to do the challenge fitness area.
right.
You know,
Could you do it for 100 grand?
It's just scalable.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
say
yeah.
we do a phase of it, and you
Do
can
100
expand.
grand worth.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And would you somehow incorporate the fitness, challenge fitness with the walking path?
We could.
I mean, rather than it being a separate thing, I mean,
Right.
does that make sense to have some stations?
You could do it that
Along
way.
there?
What seems to be more popular is to have it consolidated.
Oh, okay.
But I would put it
Okay,
not adjoining the path, like not, path
Okay,
here,
not-
and I'd have some sort of separation.
okay. Okay.
Because again, the seniors walking on a circulation, because as I've said numerous times before, walking for fitness is the #1 activity in the nation. And to be doing that besides some rambunctious children is not an enjoyable experience.
well, the pickleball's pretty close to right next to the playground and
Yeah,
I mean, that's saying. Not that I think that's a problem. I think Grandma and Grandpa would be fine with playing pickleball next to their grandchildren on the playground.
Well, except for the noise.
You know, pickleball makes a lot of noise though, right?
yeah.
Because it's like a wiffle ball. It's not like a tennis ball.
Yeah, it's more like a tennis ball.
Is it? Okay. My brother
Not
plays it
quite,
now.
but
Yeah.
similar.
Actually, there's several of the suburban communities have recently had to gone through sound analysis studies for the location of pickleball courts within their parks because of complaints from neighbors.
Those rowdy pickleball
Have to be
players.
pretty loud to get complaints over here.
Well, right, exactly. That's the benefit of that park, right?
So, and then, in later stages, you're gonna have that walk path that comes right through
Yeah.
there.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And something we talked about the infrastructure, and something, Doug, you're not aware of yet is, we're proposing doing a sidewalk right here.
There you go.
So that when this comes across, and zigs across, there's already a connection point ready.
Good. That's excellent.
So that's where all the plans are starting to connect.
The other aspect, you say about driving the children on skateboards.
Right.
I'm sure you've noticed so many of the children and adults are now having e-bikes, e-scooters, what have you. And they're moving through towns quite quickly, all on their own.
It's a whole different issue.
Yeah, and it's going to change our environment.
So I guess then, the request,
Get a motion to move this forward.
Well, I'll make a motion to move this forward based on the discussion here with the 2 pickleball courts, the accessible playground, the 2 10 and under soccer fields, an adult soccer field, the walking loop, and the adult fitness, and 2 half-court basketball courts, I believe.
And a
covers
shelter.
everything. And a shelter.
Yep.
Yeah.
We gonna be able to afford that though? Just thinking about, we've added something, we added the soccer field, and you swapped out the
Skate park.
skate park for 2 things, but you added the soccer field, and that's not accounted for. So how much is the soccer field to put in? Because you might have to like pass on something for now.
Pass on something, I think.
Yeah.
It might be pickleball.
It could be.
the two.
Yeah, maybe 2 instead of 4.
Well, this is only
It's only
2.
got
There's
2
2
on
now.
Yeah.
Well, can we do like 1 pickleball court instead of 2? I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
that'd save us some money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're still putting a pickleball court.
Yeah.
I think, well.
Yeah, it's gonna be something
you
like
said
that.
Too, though, with the playground, we might be able to get some of that money somewhere else.
Right.
And
Right.
we only have to build what we have money for.
Right.
So yeah, you could put everything in this
Yeah,
plan and
I
then,
mean, let's see what
Yeah.
that
And then we get what we get.
comes
Right.
out to.
There
Right,
is some
you're right.
other grant money for, like a fitness area here, and then we've got like the Monarch Pledge that can cover some of the costs there.
True, for the
Yeah.
planting.
So, I mean, there's a little bit of, shoot for the stars on this one, and then
Yeah.
we'll figure
Well,
out
just
how to pay it.
go the way Lisa said, just add it all in. My apologies.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Oh, wait, who had the first motion? Oh, Lisa. Okay, thank you.
Got all that down?
Yep.
Yep.
Call for a vote.
Call for a vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
That's it, because after
And
the
that'll just
council
come to
meeting,
the council.
it'll be-
Okay.
Right, it'll be sent off to, the Oslite people. After the council meeting.
Right. The next process is that you hear back from them. What's the application? Probably coverage. You'll have representatives come out. and you will look at
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Get home before it rains.
Too late.
Yeah.
Did you hear it?
Yeah, but I think it's done, right?
For now, it's gonna start again.
So let's move on to, the Harvard Parks Foundation fee waiver request.
The East Shelter at Milky Way Park.
Yes.
Is this a new request? Have we done this one before?
I don't think we've done this.
Oh, that's right.
And so is this what the funds from the event are supposed to go to, or is that just a general statement? The briefly explain the necessity reason for waiving the scheduled fees. Then it says our initiatives include the purchase of 3 sets of soccer goals and a basketball court at Northfield Park.
Those are planned,
Okay,
whether we have
so
the
that's
money
what
for them
funds
or
are being
not.
raised for.
Yes,
Gotcha.
that's part of it.
Okay, thank you. I'd make a motion to waive the fee for the Day of the Dead event.
I second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Action regarding Sam's Club, yeah, what's this about? Sam's
So,
Club credit card.
yeah, sorry, this is, was kind of thrown on last minute. So, we had our membership lapse, and we had an opportunity at Sam's Club so that we can purchase items through Sam's Club for our concession stand at the pool. With it, we were given an opportunity to do a credit card. I accepted the application, but I didn't realize it had to come here first. So this is asking for a little forgiveness as well, so that we can purchase, we were purchasing things using the credit card for the pool session, pool concession stand. It was pointed out to me like Thursday, Friday by Deb that, that should have gone in front of this committee first to request to have a credit card, because we only have like one credit card right now.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask.
And this would be a
do
second
we
one.
Normally, what's the other credit card?
The other one is the standard one for the city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And who has,
That one,
uses
Deb
that?
controls, but we only use it for emergency purposes.
oh, okay. So this would be the actual, the first credit card that's in regular use?
Correct.
How have we been placing the orders with Sam's Club previously?
Taking the city credit card
Oh,
and
okay.
going out. But the problem is that when you do stuff like that, we only have $2,000 on the city credit card. That what happens is it starts to max out, and some bills that are monthly end up getting kicked off. Like we had a situation where our emergency phone lines were actually canceled or postponed for a couple of days because the credit card had actually hit its max. So we're trying to avoid, one of the things is to also avoid that from happening, but that's also us clamping down on everyone claiming emergencies.
Right.
But this is something new, and I'm perfectly fine with going back and canceling the credit card.
Well, does the Sam's Club credit card come with any benefit?
Yes, it comes with 2% cash back. So I've actually used some of the credit to offset the cost of some of the concessions that have been purchased already.
I imagine that 2% over the course of a year would pay for the Sam's Club membership.
Yes, it does.
And then some.
It does.
Is there a fee for the credit card? Annual fee?
No, there's no annual fee since we're a government.
And what's the credit limit?
Right now it's 8,000, but I can get that reduced
Okay.
if this committee thinks it's best to reduce it. And I don't think we've come close to 2,000.
And this is just for the concessions?
Just for concessions.
I would move to sanction Lou's application and receipt of the Sam's Club credit card.
I'll second it.
And I'd just like to see the limit be lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, just,
So can
Just
you
in
amend
case.
your motion
I will,
Yeah.
to what?
to 2,000?
To 2,000?
2,000, okay,
I amend my motion.
thank you.
And I'll second his amended motion.
Wait, let me get this in here.
Why is the city credit card only 2,000 limit? That seems kind of low for a city credit card.
Because it's not meant to make normal purchases.
Right.
We use purchase orders for them. It ensures that, someone isn't,
Using it.
Yeah.
overusing it for personal gain.
Taking first-class trips to Las Vegas?
Yes.
That
It's just,
makes
it's
sense.
just control.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 8, discussion non-elected park board members.
Yeah, and first of all, I just want to say to Scott and to Pep, I mean this is not meant personally at all. This is strictly an organizational issue that came up when I was reviewing the recommendations on governance from our attorneys in their newly elected officials guidebook. And they cautioned against having non-elected voting members on committees. And so but it got me thinking, and so I just wanted to share with folks some of my thoughts on why I'm not at all opposed to having increased engagement from the community to inform the work that we're doing, but if that's ultimately the goal of having non-elected members from the community on the committee, I'm just wondering if that is the most effective way to do that, or if there are other ways, for instance, for the city to engage the park user groups, because there are many park user groups, and 2 people do not represent the full diversity of the users. So is this in fact the best way to represent that diversity? And then further, who are all of the user groups that we want to engage and that we want to inform our discussions? And then it then got me thinking, what about the non-club users of our parks, which are probably the majority of the people who are out there using our parks, whether it's the people playing pickleball or the people using the playgrounds, or the tennis courts, or walking, or the dog park, frisbee golf, you know, whatever all of these users are that we have no data on who these folks are. And so it just got me going in my head. So how do we engage and talk with and understand those folks and those users who our parks system and recreation system is designed and is ideally serving. And so that is, to me, from my standpoint, more the conversation is how do we engage the community and make sure that we're hearing from people and that we understand what the issues are from their perspective, since each one of us, whether we're elected or not, has limited experience with how we individually use the parks. And so then that got me thinking about another concept, which I'm just going to toss out there, which is an idea which we're actually going to do with the tree board next month. Is we're going to meet at Mary's Park because we're going to do a tree planting there. So we want to get out there. And so it got me thinking, which we'll be talking about in a strategic vision, section number 12 on the agenda, is if we're going to be looking at our master plan again, wouldn't it make sense, I know it makes sense to me, to actually be meeting at and spending time as a committee at parks and with the user groups and with these facilities that we're managing, so that we know what's going on there and how they're being used and what the issues are and who the people are. So to me, that's I guess the bigger question is, if it's really about engagement, what is the best way to do that? And I would say that just having, you know, two individuals who aren't elected, who are appointed by the mayor, isn't the best way to have engagement of that larger community of people that uses our parks and recreation facilities. So that's all I want to say.
I mean, we have a standing meeting every month.
No one's here.
Can come and discuss stuff with us if they need to, or very few do. I guess our job to go to them, and if so, okay, we're going to Mary's Park. Usually
Well-
to Mary's Park, come to the meeting.
Was
We did that with Jay.
it last year? We did that.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, yep.
We met at each one of the parks.
Yeah.
We
Right,
did
we
have
were
a
there.
meeting at each park.
We were there, right, John? We were there, right? Went to Park Point.
And how did that go?
It went
It was-
like this, only it was outside and it was with
Windy and blowing our papers around.
I mean, it was.
We don't talk about Park Point, though.
Oh, yeah.
I
That
guess,
one got some engagement.
I guess if the city wasn't reaching out to the public, we weren't making these meetings public, if there wasn't an option for them to come here, I'd say you're absolutely right, Lisa, but the option to come to these meetings is wide open. I mean, the communication goes out.
Sure, but
The-
what's the value added of you and Scott being here over the city council and the mayor
Well,
and the
added
city
va-
administrator and our
The added value
staff?
is that we're gonna have the people that don't show up to these meetings talk to us outside of these meetings, and we can bring issues up to the meetings. I mean,
And
that's
that's,
added
people do
value.
that with us too.
Yeah, I understand that, but
Yeah.
I think the added value is to get the public engaged in this committee. That's added value, right? I mean, instead of just elected officials. When the mayor asked me to do this, I thought it was a great idea. You know, back then I was very involved with the HERS organization, which I'm not anymore, but I'm still out there and involved in the city of Harvard. I think it's a great idea to keep residents involved in these committees. I mean, personally.
We're all residents too, the elected
Non-elected.
officials.
Non-elected.
Right,
Yep.
but I mean, we are all, I mean, that's part of serving is
Yep.
we are residents.
And then, like I said, to your point, if these meetings weren't available, then I would say, you know what, Lisa, you got a valid point, but these meetings are available to anybody. Anybody can come. And it's on YouTube now, right? I'm assuming it's streamed live, so.
I'm not opposed to trying to go back out. one,
Glad we didn't tonight.
no, yes.
Oh,
but-
yeah, that would have been awkward.
But one of the things that, you know, when we did do that is it more or less opened our eyes to some of the things.
Yeah.
Really do anything about it at the time, but it definitely, helped us prioritize. But I think, well, Mary's Park is a great example.
Yeah.
When we met there, unfortunately, we didn't have it in the budget to do anything.
Okay.
But we did notice the playground could use some.
Mhm.
Like I said, I'm not close.
Mhm.
Is there a legality issue with having non-elected officials on this board?
Are you directing that to me?
To anybody that would know?
So there used to be no non-elected members on this committee until Mayor Nolan thought it would help by getting additional engagement from the community by having residents at large appointed to the committee. Over the time that that has happened, the number of appointees has increased and decreased depending upon the will of the city council. There is no legal requirement that you stating you can't be an appointed member on the board. Indeed, we do have other boards that have appointed members, including the library board, the tree board, the planning and zoning commission. So there are non-elected entities that are on these committees. At the end of the day, though, all committees are an advisory committee to the full city council. So any decision made in any committee has to be finally approved by city council. So, who are all elected officials. It really is up to the discretion of city council how they want the committee structured. So the current council has decided that they want 4 members elected and up to 3 members appointed.
But now this is the only committee that's a hybrid. Library board, no elected members, although there is a member of the city council that serves on the library board. Zoning board, no elected.
It's
Yeah.
solely up to
Right.
the council's discretion on how they want this committee to
And
be arranged. Currently, it is 4 members of the city council and 3 appointed. If the council would like to eliminate the appointees, that's up to your discretion.
So there's 3, but there's only 2 because.
There's a seat that is currently vacant.
Well, I'm
the-
guessing maybe that, Yeah.
The appointees that have sat on this board over the years, typically those that have come, I say typically, a lot of them that have come and been appointed only came because they were very focused on a specific agenda for a specific entity, and oftentimes they realized I'm one vote amongst the committee who all are trying to deal with the parks as for the entire community, not for a specific entity. And so oftentimes they found that they couldn't accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. In some cases decided to resign because they couldn't accomplish what they wanted to, or eventually, the end of their term came and didn't want to be reappointed.
And how long are the terms for?
Each term is 1 year, but as you can see, we have 2 members who've sat on the board for quite some time because they're coming out of the woodwork wanting to sit on this board. So it's been a struggle to get any volunteers to serve on any board, including planning and zoning. I will say we had a great turnout and response for the tree board, but typically any other board, including this one, had a very difficult time finding people who are willing to serve.
And as council members, and with any of those boards, we certainly can try to help
Certainly.
by finding people.
And in my tenure, we've had difficulty finding people who are willing to serve as alderpersons, so,
Yes,
I think
but I believe right now, every
now, right,
alderperson
yes.
was actually
Yes.
elected.
it's the first time in a very, very long time that we have no appointees.
So I guess what I'm hearing
on
is you're
city
having a hard
council.
time for people to run or even volunteer to do anything, but we want to eliminate two people that want to volunteer and help.
It's up to the
I guess
council's
that's kind of where I'm
discretion.
at. That's kind of where I'm at, right?
I
mean,
think it adds,
My question for Lisa, on two separate meetings, you have quoted this book. I couldn't find my old copy where it said it was problematic. Your words.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
I don't know, and our attorney, TJ, did not provide any insight because he said, I read it right out of the book. It's a,
Problematic and didn't explain why.
the book does not explain why.
My opinion, it's problematic because the mayor has additional power to appoint the people that he or she may want to be on the board,
But
to
again,
swing the vote the way they would want. So that's where the problematic, in my opinion, comes from.
But
I
it's
don't
still
believe
with
that's the case here, but
It's still with the advice and consent of the city council.
indeed it is.
So part of that too is that there's a legal, if this was a true board where it made all the decisions and it didn't go before council, you're making monetary decisions using taxpayer dollars. I believe that's where also they're referring to it being problematic. But this is advisory, so you don't make any final decisions.
Thank you.
Good point. Do you have something you want to say?
I was just going to say that I think it adds another viewpoint, and it's not like, if the concern here was that the mayor, whoever he or she may be, would have too much power with 3 seats versus 4 elected officials, it still isn't very,
Well, isn't that also why it was changed from 5 to 3?
That was my recommendation to the council, yes.
Just a few years ago. Well, in fact, while I was on this board, we were at 5, and it's since been changed to 3
Correct.
because of that.
it's not, too many people going like, let's do this, and not having people held to accountability, so.
Thank you. I mean, I just thought we should have the discussion because I'm the new kid on the committee.
Sure.
And as everybody knows, I ask a lot of questions. So, of course, reviewing that book, it's like, well, wait a minute. And our attorneys wrote the book, even if TJ didn't.
I think Ruth was involved in writing.
Ruth Schlossberg, yeah, and Rich Flood, I think, yeah. And I should ask Ruth. I know her. So,
No, but I do agree with Lisa and John that I think it's a good idea to get the committee back out and look at the parks. Like, I went out and looked at Milky Way because I wanted to see that playground before we tear it out. I'm like,
Yeah.
because I hate the idea of tearing something out if it's still in good. And it's actually, to me, it's in good shape, but if you build a new one, you're going to have to tear that out and throw it away because it's not certified. You cannot reuse it legally. So, and but that's a chance for you to see it, to understand how bad of a condition some of the parking lot out there is a disaster and all that stuff. So I absolutely agree that, I would do that again. Go to Lions Park, go where they move the Gaga ball pit, go see that, right? I mean, it's a good idea.
Well, and keep in mind, in the next year, our current park master plan expires, and we'll be starting the process to create the next 10-year, which will be
Yeah.
a good opportunity then to go
Yeah.
out, if need be, to the communities.
I think we should go out because that way we can actually see the state, as you guys said,
Yeah.
and Park Point's not very good, and it was always used as a selling point to get people to move there. I
Yeah.
just-
But that is if you were going to have a
It was
homeowners association. You do
Yeah.
not have a homeowners association. That's the problem with that park. So the city's responsible for it, but it should have been like Oak Grove Crossing, where the residents of that subdivision were responsible for it. Oh. Yeah. Like, no, and I agree with you, Laura.
Same thing happened in Country Brook. That
Right.
park was supposed to be
Right.
Right.
homeowners, and it's
Right.
city now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm Laura. I'm not talking down to you. I mean that someone's selling it to you. That's the real estate agent selling it to you. Hey, you've got a park back here, but they have no involvement in running that park or maintaining that park. That they don't know who's doing that, and so. And the history of that area was it was supposed to have a homeowners association, and it never did.
Well, I mean, our sign got busted
Well-
this last weekend or
briefly.
2 weekends ago. One of the signs is just like totally messed up for Park Point even. I don't know what happened, but.
Just for reference, particularly for our users, there was that ordinance that was passed last year that it should an HOA go away in any future developments, that will go the route of SSA or some other fees, in order as if the HOA continues, so any of the parks that they had would be paid by the people in that subdivision. Sorry.
Yeah, and other communities do that, where when a new subdivision goes in, if there are any amenities that the HOA is supposed to be responsible for, the city will put in place what's called a dormant SSA. And so it's not collecting, maybe it's collecting a few dollars each year, but it's not collecting as long as the HOA's active. But once the HOA folds, then the city can start collecting the funds to actually take care of the things. Because you see it happen with wastewater, or not wastewater, but with stormwater detention areas that suddenly become the city's responsibility, and open space areas, and it's like, we don't have the budget for that either. So, yeah, that would be good.
All right, let's move on to the mayor's report.
Yes, well, I don't have a whole lot to report, but I have something for your consideration for the future, maybe a future meeting. And that's regarding a couple of our parks in town. And they've been, we've tried working over time. We've worked with the users that use these parks, but in the end, these parks are almost exclusively used by specific organizations. For instance, the Moose Athletic Field is only used by the Boys League. And because of that, the city will never create programming to rival that organization. That's not our intent or purpose. So if only the Boys League uses a Moose Athletic Field, might I suggest that this board and eventually city council approve to lease that field to the Boys League, similar to the way we do the food pantry and the senior center to those organizations, thereby putting the operation and maintenance and payment for insurance and electricity all on the users that use that park, because no other users are using that park. It'd be different if we had our own baseball or programming that we were using, but we refuse to create any additional programming because we don't want to create any interference with the Boys League. So what I see then is that we are maintaining the Boys League Park to a level, not the level that they maintain it, but we do some maintenance out there that is specifically for a single not-for-profit organization versus the entire community. And so from that perspective, I think it would make sense for us to lease it to them at a very reasonable $1 a year type of lease. And then it'll be a triple net lease, and they can do whatever they want to maintain the park and upgrade the park under that lease. The same would be true for the Hers Field, because we don't have softball activities that we plan specifically to rival the Hers Field. So these are some things that might actually free up additional funding for those fields that we do utilize across more than a single entity, and where we're creating programming internally for for our community to utilize. So just some thoughts that I wanted to throw out there for your consideration at a future meeting to tackle and see if that makes sense.
Does the high school also use the Hers League fields?
Yes.
They do, but they are planning to build their own because they cannot support the Hers field to the level that they want and utilize Title IX funding to do it because they don't own it.
So those are really the only two fields that we'd be talking about?
Those are the only two fields I'm talking about.
Would that also be applicable though for the junior tackle? I mean, they're the only one that uses that football field.
That's true.
So, and if we move it, we'd be devoting funds to move it, and then we would be leasing it to them. So,
Well, so that's something to consider.
Actually, in the future plans with Milky Way Park, if you'll note, that football field is actually a multi-use field. To where
Oh,
it's also used
soccer
for
too.
soccer, so it wouldn't just be for
Okay.
the tackle.
okay, that's true.
Sorry.
Good
But
point.
in those cases for Milky Way Park, I think the concept there is to begin charging usage fees to utilize those fields that we're investing a lot of money into to get them to a higher level of quality than they currently are.
Go ahead, Scott.
Do we currently collect any user fees from the Boys League or the Hers League for the use of those fields?
We do collect some user fees when they provide us with their reservations for the year. I would suggest if you leased it to them, then you would no longer need to provide
Their
any-
fields then?
Yes, right.
I think those fees are usually waived though, aren't they, Mayor?
A lot of times they are waived by
Yep,
city council, yes.
Do we have to, from a overview perspective, do we have to be concerned with you're giving this volunteer nonprofit organization a lease to this land and you're basically, look, if I'm a volunteer on the other end, you're, okay, well, that's great, we maintain this and we run it, but now we have to raise the insurance. The city has a much easier way, bulk way of doing insurance, unless somehow we were going to insure them. 'Cause we're just adding a cost to them providing a service to our community that we wouldn't have if they went away, unless we started it up.
Those are things that this committee and eventually council, if they
Right.
decided they wanted to go that route, to take under consideration.
Yeah, because we would want to know, what kind of insurance do they cover now for their programs?
I don't know the answer to that.
I was involved with the Hers. I was the president for numerous years there. So basically, we get insurance for our league every year. It's through Frost Insurance, and it does cover all our girls, and it does cover all the belongings in the buildings. We do get that insurance, and it's going to run the whole year because they play the whole year now, right? Or the whole fall and summer. And then from the Hers point of view, when I was on there, we pretty much maintained that anyways. We mowed it, even major issues, we would maybe go through the city, but the Hers really just maintained it all. I don't think you'd get much kickback from them. I think they would be okay with it.
I think that's the same is true for the boys league. They do most of the maintaining. In fact, both of these leagues don't really want the city to mow the grass for them because they don't like how the city mows it.
No, we never wanted the city to mow it. We always did
I'm
it.
just,
Yep.
Except the city has done some pretty extensive repairs on the buildings at both
Yes,
those locations.
We have in recent years. In both concession stands, the city has invested quite a bit of money in the material for both concession stands in both of these locations.
So how would that
And-
work then, Mayor? Would we still be responsible for the maintenance of the buildings, or what? How?
If it became a triple net lease, yes, it's very similar to the way the senior center and the food pantry, they basically maintain the building, but they don't have any rent and they don't, it's a free building. So that's the trade-off, right?
Now, are we providing insurance for the buildings?
That's under a triple net lease, it's typically provided by the leasee.
I would be curious as to how much the insurance would be for all that, right? Because the insurance that they used to get, or we used to get, was basically the the belongings of the garage, the concession stand, and all the girls playing. Every girl that was playing was covered.
I don't know the answer to that because I think the city's insurance obviously takes into account a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's delineated that way to determine how much is for a particular.
I just wouldn't want to burden the organizations with more cost, right? I mean, that's the other concern.
Keep in mind, since we're not charging fees to help these organizations, we are in a way not charging fees. We're still providing some services, including insurance, utilities, and so on, and then repair work that's being done at the concession stands that nobody else is allowed to use. So we can then divert those same amount of resources back into the parks that everybody is using.
Well, the people are allowed to use it, they just don't utilize them, right? Those parks are available to anybody that wants to use them.
They currently are, yes.
Yep.
Assume if they reserve it, and there's not already a reservation against that date, otherwise, then obviously, there's a conflict. But if someone comes in and wants to reserve the boys' field, there's nothing to prevent them from doing so if it's not already reserved. Now, the boys' league might be a bit upset about someone else using the field that they use, but currently, any other league could come in and start using it. We just don't have another league in town.
Yeah. Normally, we would reserve those fields for as long as we were going to use them that summer session, right? And then we were under the understanding with the high school was always priority during high school games, and then we were second.
Yeah, so there's been some conflict on the HERS field, I think in the last year for sure, between HERS games and high school games.
Yeah, not because they're doing fall and spring. Yep.
So there's some conflicts there, which is part of the reason that I think the school district is interested also in building, just another reason to have their own field. And that's all I have to report tonight.
Mr. Mayor, let's move on to the Parks and Rec reports.
All right.
Number one.
What was that?
Number one.
I don't know about that. Thank you, though. So we have many programs going on still. We just had our first one last week, the Teddy Bears Picnic Day, which was really fun. So I'm not going to go through all of them. They're written out there. But I am talking with Rush Creek Distillery to set up a mixology class, which I think would be really fun. Talking with Christy at Cripple Creek Ranch to do horseback riding lessons. And the mayor suggested a foam dog party. So I'm talking with somebody about that. So somebody comes in with a foam cannon and they fill up like a 25 by 25 foot area with foam, and you just get to go play in it with your dog. And there are videos on YouTube that I watched, and it looks super fun.
I've got a little Yorkie. Can you make sure high
Just a little
enough
short.
we can lose him?
Right, we could. I was like, maybe we could have
The
like
idea.
a shorter section and a taller section.
I'll put him in the taller section.
You do what you want with your little doggy. So, some fun stuff happening. I did add some numbers for the pool income so far, and actually I just noticed that the concession sales is actually higher than that. It was $5,222.50. So I'm not actually sure where I typed that number from, but I copied that from somewhere else. So, so it's actually even more than that. And then after I submitted my report, I did actually find numbers as of June 30th, 2023. I didn't, of course, have time to add them in here, but we have spent less this year and we have brought in more money. So it was all good things anyway. So that's really good news. NISRA, I have nothing because I'm going to my first board meeting this week. So I'm going to their board training and all that. So I'll have some more information next week or next month. Gaga Ball Pit was mentioned earlier. I got to watch that get moved to a better location, so that was really fun. So thanks to the library and Public Works and everybody for working together and making that happen. And then kind of a segue into number 11 here is recreation software that I would really love to have for the department, because as we add more programs, it's just going to be harder for me to keep up with things and gather information from all these different sources, whereas recreation software would just be like a one-stop shop, and it would also make it a lot easier for patrons to register, because now it's a little convoluted, I admit, but it's the most efficient way I've found so far until we have some kind of software to help us out, so. And that's all I have until we get to number 11.
What about the mulch?
Oh, I didn't bring any papers about that, but I had gotten quotes from 3 different companies in the area to put mulch down underneath the swings at Mary's Park. So we did look at the quotes today and would like to go forward with the least expensive one. So as long as that's okay with everyone, I can get that started. So.
So
That's all in the budget, right?
What's that?
That's in the budget?
So we had $2,000 to go for mulch. Powell came in at 2,800.
28, yeah.
But we're looking within the budget for the other 800. So anytime it's something like that, we try to find within the budget. And then to wrap that part up, this will complete the process of upgrading Mary's Park. There's the swing set is already there. They're just waiting for the mulch to be laid down. Once the mulch is laid down, the company Real will come back out and actually set the swings accordingly.
That was the lowest bid.
That was the lowest bid. And that
quite a bit.
is putting up the form, digging down a few inches, and then setting the barriers and so on.
Quite a bit of
It was
work,
like
actually.
28, 30, 200 was the next one, and
And then
another one was like
48.
48, 648.
Yeah.
So it was the cheapest one.
Okay, that's all I got, thanks.
Was there a price point for these 3 different software comparisons?
We've actually already eliminated one of them because it doesn't,
Excuse me.
yeah, we're moving on to number 11. Too early, I think.
Excuse me, we're not there yet.
Take charge of your meeting.
So last thing, I have a question on the report, which isn't included because it happened after you wrote the report, and that is the status of
Status of the pool, this pool.
So I'll help out.
You
on
wanna?
that. So we've been over the years trying to keep the pumps in that active, and what we found, we've invited Bob Burkhart to come back out as well to look at it. And what we've been finding is we've been nickel and diming and trying to get around systems in order to keep it up and alive, and now even that path has now eroded away. So where I'm going with this is that we shouldn't be going through a pump or 2 a year. You should be going through about 1 pump maybe every 5 years. That shows you how bad the system has been overworked. That said, we've got Aquapure coming out on Wednesday. Or let me take a step back. So what's going on with the pool is the circulation is not happening as much as it should, because one pump is not working, the other one is trying to do all of the work, and as a result, it's starting to get cloudy. It's getting cloudy to the point of being a safety concern. So we shut down the pool on Sunday. The pool was again shut down today. It will be shut down tomorrow. And with Aquapure coming out Wednesday, we believe, and they know what we're looking for as far as getting the second pump up and operational, that will get the circulation back up where it needs to be to clean up the pool. So it'll be back to its normal status. Actually, it'll take the pressure off the other pump system as well. And part of that too is no more getting around systems. It's fix it right.
So will this be a new pump?
This will actually, so the check valves have been one of the issues for, apparently, according to Emmanuel, has been an issue for years. So one of the things they're focusing on first is to get the check valve done. What that does is it prevents that back pump from going to prime or being primed, so that every time it kicks on, it literally blows out a circuit, because it's having to work twice as hard to get to activate. And then, of course, as soon as it kills out, the water lets out, and you gotta start the whole process all over again. It's doing it's trying to get it to work in a way that's not supposed to work. So there again, and talking with Bob Burkhart, and then talking with Hartwig and Aquapure and just about everybody else under the sun, we've all concluded that it's the check valve and both the inside and the outside pumps. So those are going to be replaced at a cost of about $1,200 or $1,300. I believe that's what the proposal was.
Yeah, for
Check
Aquapure.
valves?
The check valves.
Okay.
And that should, what's that?
That doesn't seem too expensive.
No, it doesn't seem too bad, but,
It's like
but it's just
$5,000,
highlighting,
yeah.
it's highlighting some other areas. We've had, I think we mentioned earlier this year when we had our building inspectors go out, if I can quote Donovan accurately, he would have red flagged the building. Because we've tried to do everything in nickel and dime it, and we can't do that, That's a safety concern. We'd get flagged by the state. It's not what the taxpayers are paying for. So, this is one where, this alludes to a little bit what I was gonna mention in new business. After Aquapure, one of the things we're doing is we're gonna shut the pool down, after August 10th, if it makes it all the way there. And then come back with a battle plan to, bring that up to par. Because again, that's what the taxpayers have been paying for, that's why what they voted for to have, taken care of. And no more of this nickel and diming and overestimating all this other old games. Let's just put it to rest.
When was the pool supposed to be shut down?
If everything was ordinarily working well, we probably wouldn't have shut down for probably an additional week and then left it on for the weekends. And if everything is working fine, we may continue or at least open it up for the weekends. Because there's some programs we'd like to do for the seniors. Invite the seniors out for like aqua aerobics, stuff like that, or even, I get laughed at when I say this, but it's worked at some other places, and that is let your dog go and swim on the final day, so then we shut down the pool the very next day.
That's really popular in a lot of communities.
Yeah, and yes, the filters get pretty hairy.
But that's why that's the last day.
Exactly.
My community used to have trout fishing.
Really,
In the
in the
pool.
pool.
Seriously.
Dump some trout in there and
Well, they drained it, they put it back, and they dumped some trout in there, and they
So-
went fishing.
But it goes back to, we, coming up with a proper maintenance plan and then sticking with it. And if it means we have to cut back in some other area or institute the fees, to programs, when you kill fees over here, it puts more strain on other areas to maintain. It's not that we want to charge just to make money. That's not our goal. If it was to make money, somebody else would be doing it, probably doing a lot better job. It's when you don't charge fees over here, you got to cut somewhere over here to offset it. So this, just keep that in mind moving forward, please.
How long is it gonna take for repair?
I don't know. We're still figuring out. We don't have the as-built plans anymore. Somehow those disappeared over the last couple of years. So one of the steps they have to do is they actually have to go through and figure out how it was originally designed. So then we can go to modifying it at that point. Plus, as I learned today from the state, we have to file permits in order to get anything done over there, as far as the chlorination pumps, if we're going to change them out. So it'll be a process, and and like anything else, just like OSLAD grants, it's a phased-in approach. And I've asked both Hartwig and Aquapure, and if we go with a third or any other companies, tell me what it takes to fix it, and tell me what we can do to get it to work. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 12. So everything matches and fits accordingly. Sorry, went a little longer than I wanted.
Let's move on to number 11. The recreation software.
All right, so I gave you all the sheet that compares the three different companies. The first one, Easy Facility, is out. So we're not considering that one anymore because it does not work with BSNA, our financial software. And when we asked him, the sales rep, if we could make it work, and he was like, no. We're like, oh, okay, that's easy. So, so that's no longer an option anyway. As far as pricing goes for the next column, which I think is the rec desk, he is working on a quote right now, so I'll have numbers for that either tomorrow or Wednesday, hopefully. And I do have a quote for rec track, which I forgot, but in my head, it was for the first, implementation from the start, I think it was about $9,000, but then annually after that, it would be about $5,000. I think it was, almost half of it was like startup costs and training and things like that.
Does the 5K provide annual updates or updates as required?
Yeah, it would include any software changes and updates that they make, and it includes a little bit of training for me and whoever else is using it along the way about the updates and stuff.
Does
But-
9,000 include the first year?
Yeah, that would be for the first year,
So it's really 4,000 start.
right.
Well, based on your chart here, the rec desk looks like it checks all the boxes better anyway.
It's my favorite. That's the one that I would really want, but I don't know numbers yet either, so
Okay,
Yeah, we're up.
not sure yet. But based on features,
yeah.
yes, and like the presentation and stuff that he did, it was really easy to follow and like easy to find things, so,
It includes staff training, which the rec track does not.
right.
And to me, I think that's probably a big deal.
Yeah, that's why I put it on there, because that's important to me too, as the one that would be setting all of it up in the back end.
Right.
I definitely would want to have that included and not either just don't do the training and figure it out on my own, or have to pay X amount of dollars to do the training, so,
But they do offer it.
yes, yeah. So I just wanted, oh,
You'll
sorry.
Come back to us with numbers next month?
Yes, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to the strategic vision. Now, Lou, you were saying something about the master plan is no good after next year?
Yes, the master plan had, was.
It's a 10-year plan, is that?
It's a
deal?
10-year plan. I believe it was implemented in 2015. So next year would be about the last year of it.
And would we be able to revise it on our own?
Possible. I'm not going to say it's not at all possible.
Well, I guess I'm just, if we, I don't know, get a grant or have somebody do it or whatever, right? We're probably gonna lose a year while they're doing it.
Or at least
And-
6 months, 6 to 8, 9
Right,
months.
and I don't know how much different it's gonna be, right? It's, a lot of the, I would guess a lot of the bones are still there, and I don't know if anybody's actually gone through this. We've done some stuff from here, there's a lot of stuff we have not done. I would definitely say we need to go back and prioritize again and make, what's priority now might not have been in 2015, but, other than that, I guess I just hate to lose a year while we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do, and then, we start over, and in some cases, we didn't start in the first place, you know what I mean? So,
All valid points.
yeah.
I'm on board with you. I mean, we haven't done a whole lot, that pamphlet there, so I'd hate to lose. Let's kind of, we can still probably use that, really. I mean,
I think we should all go through it and, make our
Pick
own
out what we
notes,
should
bring our
prioritize on.
priorities
Yes,
and stuff like
yes,
that.
I
and-
think that
and
makes sense.
whatnot. before we jump into a whole new plan, I just don't think it's necessary. Good. Pretty big chunk right there, but, just wanna
I was
talk
gonna
about
say, I
anything
think
else on here?
The fourth bullet ties back in with the master plan, the complete existing park improvement with recently redirected funding support from taxpayers. I mean, there's a lot of that in the master plan.
I think
About-
everything on there is pretty well covered by the master plan
I don't, yeah.
to varying degrees anyway.
Except for the last item.
Right.
Well, and the second bullet in the master plan, it's very obviously redlined through indoor recreation space in the 2015 draft, so that would be something worth revisiting.
Right.
Yeah. Because there's good information supporting that.
You know, as we build programs, as we develop more, and get more community members within the community getting far more active in our rec programs, it will put eventual or potential need for a rec center down the road. And if we're talking 10 years out, if it's in there and we don't do it, you've harmed nothing. But if we don't have it in there and we try that, we've got nothing to build to. I guess is the rule of thumb I'm trying to say. As far as the art displays, murals, and sculptures, I know Donovan and I are currently drafting a murals ordinance that'll eventually go in front of. Well, actually, it'll go in front of here before it would go, so it may be on the agenda next month.
Well, and I like the idea, as, we have these different facilities, park facilities, like I think of Lions Park and the Story Walk in back of the library. And that to me is it's sort of between the functional and the artistic. I mean, that's a very creative use along a trail. So thinking in terms of how we can incorporate art, sculpture, things like that in these spaces that we already have, these public spaces, I think that's a probably a worthy thing to add to our master planning.
The other thing I would like to throw in there for consideration as you're all looking through this is also, this is going to sound crazy, but expansion. As some properties become available that could better fit in some of the parks, to even consider adding that in. There'll be a closed session later.
And
Another closed session.
Lou, just curious, will something be coming to this committee about the grant project through, I think, CMAP for
the
the
bike path.
bike path trails?
Yeah, that was mentioned at the infrastructure committee. I'll know more on that process once they have designated a point person
Okay.
through CMAP. But yeah, so just so everyone's aware, what happened was a while back I applied for a a bike and walk path master plan through CMAP, and we did win that grant. What that does is provide technical assistance. It's not money, but it's technical assistance to develop a master plan. And since with our realignment of the committees, it falls into infrastructure, but in coordination in some areas with this committee, because some of it will include parkland.
Well, and we have, existing trails and working on the extension at Milky Way.
Yeah.
So,
And that actually, by having that in and showing that we're considering how to connect, that actually helped push us over the mark.
So, Chairman, when would you like to start having everyone kind of put all of their thoughts in on, because I agree with you. I think the master plan that we currently have just needs revision. We don't need to throw it away. We just need to revise it for the next 10 years. So I kind of feel like, committee members could go through the plan and make their notes, and at some point in the future, you guys could come back together and kind of hash out what you think how you want to revise that plan.
Yeah, I don't know how much time do you guys need?
I wouldn't let it go that long.
No.
Well, even if we, look at, a section at a time.
Well, that's what kind of I was thinking too.
Yeah.
We could, pretty easily just start.
And that was one of the reasons I was thinking, actually visiting the parks as a group in connection with that made sense.
John, and maybe send us like some information. Okay, we're going to go over this.
Or you
So
can
we
just
can
give us,
study it.
you can just give us copies at the next meeting and tell us this is what you guys look at this section of it, right? And then we can do that too.
Yeah.
That might be easier, really.
Yeah.
If you go to the city's website,
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, there.
and you go, it was still here or not. So if you go to website, go to government. Actually, yeah, I think that's where
Yeah.
we need to go, is Parks and Rec.
Yeah. It's there.
And then, once you're in Parks and Rec, and if you're on your phone, there'll be a drop-down box for these things. So that's where you want to go here. And it's right there.
In the meantime, between now and the next council, or the next committee meeting, I can ask Doug, 'cause he's already reviewed it. In prep for the OSLAD application. So I can ask him for any suggestions he might be able to provide as well, to provide to this committee.
So when we originally did this in 2015, I think I am the only person left that was involved in it.
Yep.
So it is time for a refresh because you have all new leadership and priorities have probably
I think between
changed.
now and the next meeting, if we could all review it at least, and then we can have a discussion at the next meeting.
Most of the initial part talks about, and just for those that weren't here, so we had gotten a grant from CMAP actually, who helped us with this, and then it was enough to hire Camaros, who was the kind of facilitator that helped this. And we had outreach to the community, including surveys, as well as in-person meetings where people took surveys in person with, they had some kind of digital thing to take survey questions. All of that data was collected, as well as interviews with people and staff, as well as I think people at large. And all that was kind of brought together, which is all kind of talked about in here. And then under the community involvement and visioning, the first part was, what our existing conditions are. Obviously, the conditions are a little bit better than they were then. They were pretty light back then because we really didn't do as much maintenance as we do today. And then the actual plan comes out and talks about the various strategies to accomplish that. And of course, the biggest one that Lisa brought up is the indoor center was completely removed because at that time the council did not believe that the community would support any kind of increased taxes to build an indoor facility, so they didn't even want to think about it and just pushed it off to the side. I think that had some detrimental, in my opinion, some detrimental effect on the overall master plan because over the years, when that happened, everyone looked at the master plan as like, yeah, it's a good idea, and then went about doing their own thing. And so it never really was the blueprint that the city followed. So what would be great is if this committee, when you come back, actually came back and we take ownership of this and actually, move forward with the overall plan, however you guys devise it to be and council approves. So.
If it's, I mean, if the consensus is that no, there shouldn't be an indoor facility, take it out of the plan.
Yeah, just remove
Don't
it from the plan
Just put a big
altogether.
red X.
Yeah,
through
well,
it.
and it really created
Because you
some
have all the
frustrations from the
language.
community
Yeah.
because they constantly look for it, but then it's well, we're not even considering this. So if you weren't going to consider it, it should have just been removed. I agree.
Because there's a lot of language in there,
Yes.
like from the community supporting doing that, and then you get.
I think they support, they want it, but they don't want to pay for it.
Well, there is that,
right.
John. No one wants to pay
Right.
for
Sorry
anything.
to say.
That's true.
But it really looks, I think, looks very silly.
Would have left it in there because they said, yeah, we did think about it.
We just said, no.
That might be the case.
Well, you would know, Mike.
Well, I
If you
was
can
I
remember 10
was
years
a
ago.
minority in most of the thought process there. So.
All right, so please print this out or just read it and, let's discuss it in the next meeting.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Love it.
Let's go on to new business.
The only thing I wanted to add today is, as far as new business, is really just more of a comment. My hat off to Stacy, since she's come on board. Thank you for that. I don't have to be the interim anymore.
Thank you.
Yeah. I thought you'd get roses just for that alone. But she's come in and has already gotten 7 or 8 programs running, with more on the horizon. She's been very interested in taking all suggestions, and she's been reaching out to people. She's been very creative, knowing that we don't have a lot of space. She actually partnered up with Extreme Fitness, where it was, $35 per person or $60 per person. They got to keep the majority. We actually got our portion out of it as well. And so just on that, even though we didn't use any city facilities, the city made $105. So that's the kind of creative thinking that we've needed, and particularly in this department. And so I just want to tip my hat off to her for that, and for going through the frustrating days at times to get things moving, particularly about the pool.
I also had something. In talking with Public Works about picnic tables and garbage cans for the parks, I know that had been approved at some point in the past to purchase new or replacement or additional. But in talking with Public Works, they were saying that we don't really need any. So, in talking with Lou and Deb and Public Works and everybody, we'd like to bring a budget amendment to the admin committee to allocate the money that was meant to be for picnic tables and garbage cans to put towards pool fixing up.
Oh, we had an ADA picnic table, though. It was.
Yeah, it turns out the numbers were that we were given were inflated. We did not need, in fact, the new tables that have been purchased are ADA compliant to begin with. So we didn't need it.
But weren't we gonna replace all the garbage cans so they're all, trying to go back to that meeting where I thought we needed so many garbage cans and they were gonna all match or something.
And that right now is kind of put on hold mainly by my direction because there were cheaper options out there. So we'd like to look at that as well in talking with Public Works, Daryl is who we're talking with, on what is actually needed. So there might be a little flexibility going on, or a little fluctuation going on in the budget. Not that we're trying to spend more, and just reallocating the way it should have been.
Do we have an inventory of the picnic tables and garbage cans and how many we should be having in every park?
Not that we could present right now, but it's something that we could bring up at the next meeting. But yeah, just to reiterate, we'd like to take the $7,000 that was allocated towards picnic tables, put it towards the pool, because I think we're going to need every bit of that.
Is there a specific reason why the budget numbers were included in here?
I
I thought Deb was providing that.
We've been
Going
asking
forward.
for it.
Yeah, yeah.
It just hasn't usually been in the,
And look for that to be more common, because between the department heads and now the committees, we're trying to make sure these numbers are a little more fluid, or
Okay.
fluent to
Okay.
everybody.
it's great.
Who,
Transparent.
did you need a motion on that tonight?
No, because it is this is more an awareness. If we've kind of got that, nobody's upset, we'll proceed.
And it's under new business, so you can't take any
Right.
action anyways.
So it's going to go to the admin committee then. Yeah.
Is it for new business?
That's all I've got.
All right, next meeting will be August 19th. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Did you ever work out